Hi, my name is Jennifer Schlipp, and I'm a professional life and wellness coach as well as a certified personal trainer. Today, we're talking about the who, what, where, when, and why do we care so much about stress topic. This topic has a lot of information because there's a lot to take in with it. It applies to people's lives in a lot of different ways, and it can be misconstrued from information, maybe misconceptions that we have about stress. For example, it is a tendency of ours to think that all stress is bad. Whereas in today's series, I hope to enforce upon you some information that will let you see how stress can be good, it can be used in a beneficial way in your life, and it can actually help you. So I'm going to break this topic down into several different portions or series. And at the conclusion of it, you'll have a full running picture of how stress can be classified, how we can be in control of it, and how it can be used as a tool for good in your life instead of a bad stressor that is causing you negative health effects. So, starting out today, I'm going to read some statistics off of the screen here. Stress, talking about the WHO. This comes from some statistics that I have read lately, starting out with some that I got out of a book called Good Stress, Bad Stress by Barry Lenson. He reports that 75 to 90% of visits to primary care physicians are for stress-related problems. 43% of all American adults suffer from some kind of adverse health effect from stress. This could include heart disease, this could include high blood pressure, increased cholesterol, and increased risk for diabetes, muscle tension, back pain, and it could also be of a psychological nature, talking about panic attacks, anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances. The list goes on in the ways that stress can affect you if it is a bad stress and it is too much stress or too often. So, moving on. Stress causes the American business more than $300 billion each year due to absenteeism, reduced productivity, and health benefits paid. In 2000, the annual Attitudes in the American Workplace Gallup poll, sponsored by the Marlin Company, found that 80% of workers feel stress on the job. Nearly half of them say they need help in learning how to manage their stress, and 42% say their coworkers need such help as well. And then lastly, in a similar study in 2000, the Integra survey reported that 62% routinely found that they end the day with work-related neck pain, 44% reported stressed out eyes, 38% complained of hurting hands, 34% reported difficulty in sleeping because they felt too stressed out. So, in answer to the question, the who, stress affects, it goes without saying that it affects many, if not most of us, either in a professional or personal matter. It is getting in the way of how we would like to carry out our day. These staggering statistics are exactly why this is such an important topic to discuss. I will provide you with a link or an attachment of Barry Lenson's personal stress inventory worksheet, which will help you to identify which areas of your life are causing you the most stress, and then also help you to assist in identifying whether these stresses are rooted in a good stress or a bad stress nature. So let's talk about, now we've discussed the who, let's talk about the what. What is stress? By definition, stress is a byproduct of a natural tension state that allows our systems to prepare for what's more commonly called fight or flight. Based on our survival instincts, which is an intrinsic drive we all share, there's an optimal level of stress that allows for greater functioning. Too little stress may leave us with a more passive approach, too passive. Too much stress, as we've discussed, can lead to many systems shutting down and a lot of health problems that are no good for you in any way. So we've got to find that balance, and a lot of this will come back to things that we can manage, steps we can take on our own to control this or to internalize this and process it in a more healthy way. It is our tendency as a society to jump to the conclusion that all stress is bad and it should be deemed damaging and therefore unwanted. This is referred to as catastrophication or catastrophizing. However, there are differences between good stress and bad stress. The mere acknowledgement of this fact and the acceptance that we have some ability and choice in how stress impacts us is an empowering thought. This is a tool that will help you manage your stress in a healthy way, in a beneficial manner for your life. Psychologist Hans Zanye, also known as the father of modern stress, published a book called The Stress of Life in 1976, where he announced for the first time that he felt there were two kinds of stress: good stress, or eustress, and bad stress, distress. He went on to say that during both eustress and distress, the body undergoes virtually the same nonspecific responses to the various positive or negative stimuli acting upon it. What he's referring to is the sensations of stress we are familiar with experiencing. Physical changes such as our heart rate increasing, we may perspire more, our muscles may feel tense, we may be talking more rapidly or feel a shortness of breath, that sensation of butterflies in your stomach. Those are all normal responses to stress, and most of us can probably relate to feeling those in both a time where it was good, perhaps on your wedding day, and maybe a time when it was bad. If you've ever received a speeding ticket and you were sitting in your car, you probably experienced a lot of the same jitters and sensations of anxiety that you did on your wedding day, but one was of a good nature and one was of a bad nature. So, how do we discern between the two? Zanye continued his thought with claiming, however, the fact that eustress causes much less damage than distress graphically demonstrates that how you take it in is what determines ultimately whether one can adapt successfully to the change. This was not only revolutionary, but continues to be life-changing for most of us. If we choose to see ourselves in the driver's seat of determining how stress will affect us, instead of being the pedestrian walking who is run over by a stress-mack truck, then we can accept the fact that in most cases we're in control and we're in the driver's seat, and we can steer the stress and the impact it therefore has on our life. Zanye concludes his thought by saying, stress is the spice of life. Since stress is associated with all types of activity, we could avoid most of it only by never doing anything. Who would enjoy a life with no runs, no hits, and no errors? In the workplace, this battle between good stress and bad stress could also be described by looking at things as a challenge versus a hindrance. And this was a study that was actually done at Cornell University. And what they found is that when it is perceived to be a challenge, it is compelling to us and it propels us forward. These things in our lives can advance us. They can push us to greater heights. It could bring up our game. You know, sometimes when you're a sport or an athlete in a sport, the best motivation you can get is playing against somebody who is far better than you, because it entices you to want to improve and play harder. And you might find in that example that you've pushed yourself beyond the limits that you thought you had, and therefore you raised your level of athleticism that day. It could be the same in the workplace. Challenges are work-related demands or circumstances that, although potentially stressful, have associated positive gains for individuals. Potential gains could include intrinsic rewards such as satisfaction or pride, and gains that promote work achievement such as learning a new skill or being able to demonstrate your competence of a skill. Challenge-related stress is associated with positively related job satisfaction. On the other hand, hindrances are work-related demands or circumstances that tend to constrain or interfere with an individual's work achievement and which do not tend to be associated with potential gains for the individual. Hindrances result in negative stress, for example, excessive worry, frustration, and strain. One of the lead researchers in this study at Cornell was Dr. Wendy Boswell, and she reported in a later study for Texas A&M University. In her opinion, challenge stress propels employees to work better. while hindrance stress leads them to stalled careers and eventually stress-related health problems. So that has handled the who and the what of stress. In the next series, I'm going to talk about the when, the where, and the why do we care. Thanks so much.